In my exclusive interview with President Trump last week, I asked him whether any deal the U.S. makes with Iran would include the release of Americans being wrongfully detained. I do want to remind our viewers this interview was interrupted multiple times due to the rain, which you can hear in the background during this exchange. Take a look. Will any deal you make include the release of Americans who are being held by Iran?
Well, we talk about it, and we'll see. Nobody really has an accurate list of who they are, what they are, or if they're being held. But if they're, we've been talking about it. Nobody really has a list. You know that, right? You know, you're asking me about, nobody has a list.
But are you demanding a list? Are you demanding to know and saying they've got to come home?
You're supposed to give me the list. I mean, do you know people that we're talking about? If you give me the names, I'll do my best to get them out.
Well, I don't think that's been reported.
Huh?
I don't think it's all of the people who've been held.
All I'm saying is this. If you have a list of names, give them to me, and I will get them out.
But is it something you talk to them about?
We talk about people if they have them, but nobody knows who they are. Just like you don't know who they are.
One of those Americans being held in Iran is Reza Valizadeh, an Iranian-American journalist who was arrested in September of 2024 on charges of collaborating with a hostile government. The State Department has designated Valizadeh as being wrongfully detained. NBC News obtained an audio recording from Valizadeh from inside Iran's notorious Evin prison, pleading for help and expressing dismay that the U.S. recently repatriated Iranian sailors from ships seized by the U.S. military without demanding the release of him and other prisoners in exchange. Look.
While the four of us are suffering from various diseases and are deprived from real medical services, the U.S. government could have at least demand real medical services for us in exchange for the release of Iranian sailors. Even if treating our diseases is a big demand, it would have at least asked the Iranian authorities to reduce not all the physical pressure and mental torture against us in captivity, but at least some of it.
Now, in a statement to NBC News, the State Department said, quote, "We are committed to securing the release of all Americans unjustly detained in Iran and around the world. The Iranian regime should immediately release all Americans detained in Iran." Joining me now to discuss this further is Ryan Fayhee, Reza Valizadeh's lawyer. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Let's start right there with your client, Mr. Valizadeh. How is he doing, and when was the last time you spoke to him?
Well, we've never been able to speak directly. We speak through his family, which are located in Tehran. Once the blackout was lifted, the internet blackout in Iran, comms came back in, and we were able to connect with the family briefly. And that's how we obtained the most recent message from Reza. You know, he's been held for nearly 2 years within the walls of Evin prison, really, you know, for being an American citizen associated with an American-funded journalist outfit, Radio Free Europe. And he's endured a military strike on the prison by the Israelis back in June of last year. And then he's endured all-out war just outside the walls of that prison ever since. And so he suffers from some pre-existing medical conditions that began as a result of that airstrike by the Israelis. And, you know, he's now in a very, very difficult position, but knows, because of my communications back with him, that I've been engaged in every corner of Washington, D.C. to try to prioritize his release.
What can you tell us about the communications that you've had with the Trump administration to try to get him released?
Well, you know, the day before the war began, let's start there, Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, went out and designated Iran to be a state sponsor of wrongful detention. That's directly as a result of Reza's detainment. Second, I've been in Capitol Hill in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. I've been at the State Department in the specialized office, the Hostage Affairs Office, and I've been at the White House multiple times engaging at the top of the administration. And I believe the administration takes this matter seriously. Now, the president may not have had all the details when you interviewed him last Saturday or Sunday. However, I believe him when he says that he's going to bring Americans home. And there are at least 6 stuck in Iran, Reza among them. Another gentleman, Cameron Hekmati, a grandfather who visited Israel more than 14 years ago, being held on an exit ban. And what I see is this Iranian sailors through humanitarian gesture, 60 of them returned to Iran. I see the Iranian soccer team gaining visas to attend a match, potentially even playing the United States in a soccer match. And in the meanwhile, Reza can't even go home to get medical treatment with his parents in Tehran. Keep him on an exit ban if you might, but at least let him out of that prison.
To that point, should any deal, short-term or long-term, require that these Americans be released as a part of any agreement that is struck? Absolutely, yes. I saw the list of the loose agreement the president seems to have arranged with the Iranians. What was missing from that list is the release of these American citizens, including Reza, and at the very least, while they negotiate a broader deal, once again, he should be released to his parents. He should be able to get the medical treatment he so desperately needs while they work out these finer details. But he absolutely should be on the list of conditions before they get into the broader negotiation. What is your sense of hearing that President Trump believes that a deal is imminent? We have been here before. We've heard the administration say they're close before. Do you have any sense that this moment is different? I take the president at his word. He says he has an agreement here. I'm disappointed that these Americans don't seem to be part of that agreement, but I do have confidence from what he said in the course of your interview, and I appreciate you asking the question, that if he has the names, he'll bring them home, and I believe him. What do you think Reza and his family's message would be right now as we watch and wait to see what happens next with this agreement that seems to be coming together? Well, I hope they take comfort in knowing that at least the hostilities may come to a pause, particularly when Reza is so vulnerable within that prison. But, you know, this opportunity hopefully will lead to the next one in which his family will ideally be reunited. Now, his family all lives in Tehran. Reza is an American citizen, and so he's likely to need to leave Tehran as soon as possible, and hopefully there'll be an opportunity for them to gather once again together outside of Tehran. But this is what they hope for. They really just want their son to be safe and alive and out of that prison. Well, we join them in hoping and praying that he can be released soon. Thank you so much, Ryan Fayhee, for being here to represent your client. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate the information.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.